Hi, I'm Yinka, and this is The Hurt Locker, a podcast where we open a door into men's mental health. Come and go.
And all of these things don't happen in a matter of a day or 2 days. This happens over weeks and weeks and weeks.
It's a gradual build-up. Yes.
That's exactly right. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, I need to get help. How often do you see the brown man stand up going, I nearly killed myself?
I'm going to ask you what's in your hurt locker, but I'm going to ask you about the prevalence of anger and how did it manifest itself when looking back, you've been through therapy, etc. You're listening to The Hurt Locker, the podcast that opens a door on men's mental health. And tonight's guest, we have Vish Narbheram. Vish, welcome to The Hurt Locker.
Nice one, Yinka. I'm excited to be here. Let's get into it.
Let's get into it. First question first then. So what's attracted you to coming on The Hurt Locker?
Yes, I've had the pleasure to work with Tim on Built For Us podcast, which is a construction podcast, and it's absolutely fantastic. There's a group of guys who come on and we talk about stuff most construction workers don't talk about: anxiety, stress, suicide rates, mental health. And it's a really, really great podcast to be a part of. And when I heard about the Hurt Locker, I said I had to be a part of this. It sounds so exciting. And I get the pleasure of speaking with you, Yinka. So it's exciting.
I don't know. I think the pleasure is mine for you to come on here, to be honest, anyway. But welcome on The Hurt Locker. How's your day been today?
Fantastic. Honestly, I've had a big breakfast. When I say breakfast, it was actually a lunch, but I went to a cafe, which I've never been to before, and I absolutely love experiencing new cafes. And this one was in Southend, and it's called Caf. So it's called Caf 103. And I've driven past it. Yeah. And I drove past it a fair few times, and I thought, you know what? I've got a bit of time on my hands, so I'm going to check it out, and it didn't disappoint. So I'm fueled and ready to go today.
Fueled. Yeah. Before we go, then, what was on your plate? What was what was CAF 103's breakfast then?
Mate, so I'm vegetarian, so I'm sorry to disappoint the listeners already.
You have disappointed me straight away. I was thinking of all this grizzly stuff that was just sizzling and all that.
Mate, I might even just convert you to be a vegetarian now. So I had two sausages, 3 eggs, runny, because obviously you can't have it well done. Yeah. I had mushrooms, beans, I had toast and 2 hash browns. And probably the most intriguing thing I've never had with a breakfast before was a couple slices of halloumi cooked, and it was just, I think I could probably do away with the halloumi, but the rest of it was proper good.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. Did you say salsa halloumi?
No, just cooked, nicely done, but I'm not sure if I fancied that with some eggs.
I do like the halloumi from time to time, so you've got me there a little bit, and I'm sure that they were a version of Linda McCartney's sausages. There are other vegetarian sausages out there, but yeah, there'll be a version of them.
So, God, now you've intrigued me. What's a big breakfast looking like for you, Yinka?
The bacon is done. It's crispy. I like streaky bacon if it's going to be done right. I do a lot of training, so I end up eating breakfast in hotels, and I don't like the way they cook it, because the way that they cook it in bulk, and sometimes there's an oily, watery feel about. But if I was to do it at home, it'd be a combination. I like cracked fried eggs, obviously,
Of course.
And I very rarely buy black pudding, but a little bit of black pudding as well. I know it's a meat fest when it comes to big breakfast. I've got no time for beans. I've got no time for tomatoes. I very rarely have hash browns. It's got to be dry, gristly. Yes, it's just that. It's a heart attack on a plate. I'll admit that, but then I don't have it all the time. So you know what they say. a little bit of what you fancy doesn't do anybody any harm, as it were, you know.
There you go.
So it's not a daily thing. I can rest assured on that one.
Well,
Oh,
nothing wrong with some guilty pleasures. So there you go.
you know, listen, that's not even a guilty pleasure, but we won't go into that here today anyway. Might have a podcast for the guilty pleasures. So, Southend. So, tell me, whereabouts in the country are you based?
So,
Yeah.
so predominantly, I'm based in Southend, Rochford, Leigh-on-Sea, but I pretty much cover everything from, Ely to Hornchurch in Romford. So that's what I do as my day job, and that's as an electrician. But of course, mental health is my passion. Mental health is where my heart is, if you like. So that's what
Okay.
Onward Shift is about. But I'm sure we'll talk about
Brilliant.
that a bit later.
We will. Can I, couple of things, because I did go to catering college for a year, but I needed to make money, so I started an apprenticeship as a bricklayer. And so I'm a qualified bricklayer. Okay. But I always thought to myself, if I was going to work within the construction industry, it would have been as an electrician.
Really?
Yeah. Why? Because I loved maths.
Okay.
So college wouldn't have been a challenge for me in that sense. But I always noticed the difference. I used to always make the comparisons between me going home all dirty cement and Sparks going home, and the blood you could wear a suit to work, you know? I'm serious.
Easy, geezer.
Come
Easy.
on,
Come on.
lad. You've got to admit. You could wear the suits and it'd be like that.
Mate, honestly, like I don't, you know what? There is that assumption that electricians don't get dirty, but I tell you, mate, I work in houses. I do a lot of rewires. I do a lot of house
Okay.
bashing. So
That's
that's
different then.
chasing up. Yeah, so I'm chasing up
Absolutely.
walls, lifting up floorboards. I can lick my finger, put it down my arm, and it'll be a different color. So
I hear ya.
unfortunately, yeah. But those commercial guys, they got it easy, man. Honestly, I've never seen them on their knees doing anything. So fair
You
play.
know
I know
that.
exactly what you mean there.
Let's talk about the construction industry,
Yeah.
okay? And I'm going to talk at it from a position of race,
Okay.
okay? For me, as a black guy growing up in Liverpool, to become a bricklayer within the construction industry, it wasn't a shock to the system, but it was a shock to the system.
Yeah. Okay.
In as much as it's predominantly white, you very rarely see people who are black or brown unless they're all recruited from the same neighborhood, as it were, you know? And then once you complete your apprenticeship, as I did, then you go into the wider construction sphere, and there's very few people of color there. How was it for you? Were you living at home when you entered the construction industry, or you said you were going to be a spark? And how was it for you? How did your family and friends relate to that?
Yeah, that's a really interesting topic. The last time I researched this was quite a while ago, but approximately 80% of the construction industry is white and 20% is colored. So there is a huge minority in that, even as we speak today, which really does, I guess you have to ask questions there, right? For colored people, it's not a natural progression to go into construction, just as it wasn't for me. But to be transparent with you, I was quite a naughty kid. I failed
Okay.
most of my GCSEs. Actually, I failed all of them. I didn't have many options in life, so I was actually guided into construction because that was, I guess, where all the naughty kids went. So for me, accounting, finance, all of that stuff, doctoring and being someone who works in a pharmacy and all of that, it was never on the cards. I was too hands-on, and yeah, working in a corporate environment was never going to work for me. So construction was a natural progression from failing GCSEs to doing something.
And did you start that? Did you go in as an apprentice from, say, 16 or?
No, I didn't. So my level two, I'd done my level two course, and then once I finished my level 2 course, I done something which most people don't do now. Is I Yinka, do you remember the yellow book? Where you get all the contact details from. It was like a directory, the yellow book. So basically,
It
I don't know if it was.
it rings a bell, but I don't think we had it here in the Northwest, or it may have been after I qualified. But go on, yeah. Oh,
So it's basically
it's saying Yellow Pages.
Yellow Pages. That's it. Oh my
Oh,
god, yes,
well
that's
done,
it.
Tim. Well done, Tim. I remember the Yellow Pages. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. That's it. Yellow Pages. That's exactly right. And what I did was I actually went through that book and I called every electrician I could find and
Go
said,
on, tell me more. I'm intrigued about this.
yeah, mate. Honestly, I called every single one and I said, I literally I literally called every electrician I could and said, I've just finished my level 2 course. I'm looking for a bit of work. I'll come out for free. Can I work with you? And you'll be surprised. I actually ended up getting about 3 or 4 projects from that. I built my skill set up. And from that, I'll go to another electrician and say, by the way, I can wire a ring circuit, or I can wire a one-way lighting circuit, or a two-way lighting circuit, or whatever. And then they would say, oh, you know what, we'll give you a go. We'll give you like 30 quid a day. I'll be like, yeah, let's do it. So then I'll go work for them. And then slowly I went off to do my level 3, and then I kind of progressed that way. But I did actually take a break away from electrics and I studied level 2 heat and ventilation service and maintenance because I actually managed to get an apprenticeship. But I'll be honest, I absolutely hated it. I was unblocking toilets and urinals majority of my day. That was not something I was training as an electrician. It's not something that was really up my street. So I completed my level 2 apprenticeship. I dropped out at level 3 and I went back onto the tools doing sparky and work.
Okay. I'm gonna have to. Here's my experience. I qualified as a brickie. I went down south. I went to London, and my experience was every time I'd get the Evening Standard, and at the
Mhm.
time the industry was booming, 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 and I'd phone up, give my name, Yinka Yesifu. Oh, sorry, mate, the job's gone. Sorry, mate, the job's gone. Sorry, mate, the job's gone. It got to a point whereby I knew where they used to drop off the Evening Standard, you know, at 12 o'clock or half 11 it was, by Park Lane. That was the first drop-off point in London, and I'd go there, get it, phone up, "Sorry, mate, the job's gone," like that. So I'm thinking, "Yeah, okay." So you know what I did for me? I
Mhm.
changed my name. I changed my name to Paul Brown, and every single time, I got a fucking job.
Wow.
Every
Why do you think
fucking
that
time.
is?
Yeah, I know exactly why that was, but have a go at this. I'd turn up on site with me level, with me tools, etc. Sorry, mate, the job's gone. But there was an Irish guy. I went to this construction firm, and there was this Irish guy there, the boss of it all, and he said, "All the jobs gone, but you can do demolition for us." And I was like, "Go on then. What's your name?" Paul. Paul Brown was my name. So yeah, there was a little bit of that racism of one or two. I can still see one guy's face now. He didn't terrorize me, but there was just certain things that people just drop and think that, how's you gonna take this? And I remember till this day, I was working on the first floor of this building. We were demolishing it. We had no safety net and just a lump hammer. And we're knocking it down, knocking it down, knocking it down. This was in the morning. And by lunchtime, I said to the gaffer, listen, I can't do this because I didn't like heights.
Mm.
I didn't like heights. He said, all right, Paul, I'll leave you on the ground. I'll leave you. Wheelbarrow, blah, 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 blah. And you know what? To be fair to him, I know at the end of the week, he paid me the same money as everybody else because he said, Paul, you're a grafter, you aren't you? And that was it. And for me, it was always a case of, don't judge me by what I look or how I look. Judge me by what I can do. you know.
Mm.
But it's interesting listening to your take and how you were a bit of a go-getter, the way your approach as well.
Well, mate, like I'll be honest with you, I'm a super transparent person, and I will never and I promise you, I never have, and I never will let the color of my skin dictate what I can and cannot achieve. There will be limitations in place, but I will be oblivious to them. And all I see when I walk into a room is an opportunity that I want, and I will do whatever it takes to get that opportunity. And I think I've come across a lot of colored people who say, I can't do this because of my skin color. And I understand it, but I truly
I
believe,
disagree. But can I
really,
just pick up on something? It's interesting.
yeah, please.
You weren't born in you were born in down south, yeah?
Yeah, I'm from East London. Yeah.
You're from East London. So it's
Yeah.
interesting, even just language, you say coloured,
Hmm.
you know, and I know that there's a back and forth on how we talk and represent ourselves, you know?
Mhm.
I'm not making it an issue, but it's just an airing and an observation because
Interesting.
you don't take no truck with that. You're not asked about that. But for
Hmm.
me, there's a political element of saying black and brown, if you know what I'm saying, in
Is it
terms
sort of
of
like taking ownership of it, or
yeah,
is
yeah,
that what it is? Okay, it's
yeah,
interesting. Yeah.
definitely,
I think for me, I've always come from the stance of it doesn't matter because I just see myself as an equal to everyone else. So,
100%.
like, I guess my upbringing, I've come from a fairly rough upbringing. It was quite violent, and there was a lot of stuff that wasn't right. But one thing that I learned at a very young age was it doesn't matter uh, what nationality you are, what culture you are, what weight you are, what height you are. If we're all running a race and we all fall over, we're all going to bleed the same color blood. So for me,
100%.
that's what was embedded into me. That so much so that I've even got it tattooed to my arm that failure is winning. Like I didn't accept that I can't achieve something, and I still don't accept it. And I think that comes into, I've done a lot of therapy in my life, and I've understood a lot about limiting beliefs and things like that. So when I look at my life, I kind of go, I can't limit what I want to achieve, and I can't let society do that for me either. But I guess that's a mindset thing, right? That's just the way I am. That's just the way I've conditioned my brain to think, and yeah, I think it's worked for me. Uh,
Brilliant, brilliant.
yeah.
And just by the way you're talking, I get that sense that it's working for you, without a doubt.
Mm.
So I'm just staying with the construction and the training, your
Of
apprenticeship, you're
course.
learning, you're studying. One of the things I picked up as a bricklayer when I was in college, we do day release in college, and my peers, some who I knew, some who I didn't, and all of that, they would struggle with the academic side of things. How was it for you?
Yeah, I really did struggle with that actually. So later on in life, I realized I've got ADHD and OCD. So I've been diagnosed, luckily with both, which explained a lot of my childhood and my secondary school antics, if you like. But yeah, I really struggled with education. I actually had to, you, have you heard of those books? I think they're called the Dummies Guide or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They're like, yeah, the yellow and
Yeah,
black
the
ones.
yellow and black ones, yes.
That's it. Well, I had to dumb it down even more than that sort of thing. So the only way I would memorize things is if I put it pen to paper and then I would associate a word with a sentence that I would remember. And it could be something so silly. I can't give an example at the top of my head, but it would be like, yeah, just something so silly. And then I'd remember that silly thing and I'd associate it with the word. It could be a formula, it could be, Ohm's law or whatever it was.
Yes,
And that's the only way. So I would end up having pages and pages of pages of stupid words, which would only make sense to me. But
brilliant. But you made it
yeah,
work for you.
had to
Excellent.
make it work.
You know what? I get a sense of an internal driving force for you.
Mm.
What was that about? Was that about putting two fingers up to society? Was that about putting fingers up to your teachers at school, or was it about putting two fingers up to your family? What was that about? What's that driver about initially?
Yeah, no, I'll be honest with you. Like my upbringing was quite rough, but I would never say a teacher didn't believe in me. They always saw something. I've never had a teacher say, "Oh, you're going to be a failure" or anything like that. Maybe because I didn't turn up to school much. They didn't have the opportunity to tell me that. But for me, I guess it was, my mum worked like a lot. Like she was hustling hard.
Did
Um,
you have multiple jobs or?
she just worked hard. Like she'd bake food at home. We'd never be without a meal, whatever that meal was. It was just, I guess I've just grown up with it. Like there's not a anger or a hatred in my heart to anything. It's just what I've seen my whole life. It's you put in the work, and when you get knocked back, you just continue to work, and you have to be relentless with it to achieve anything. A little bit about me on a personal note is my dad died when I was 2 years old. He passed of cancer. So it was my mum, me, and my two siblings. So, and we lived in I'd say, a pretty rough council estate in East London. So there wasn't much opportunity in the world. You know, there wasn't a lot of finances and there wasn't a lot of money just flowing in. It was, mate, you just done what you had to do to survive and keep your head above water.
Absolutely.
Like
Absolutely.
we didn't have a car, we didn't go on we didn't go on any holidays. So I don't know if you know about this, right? There's a pizza place called Indiano Pizza. And this was a luxury for us. Like we'd get I think it was a 6-inch pizza for £1.50 with 3 toppings of your choice, which was a luxury, right? And that for us was like a takeaway. It was a special occasion. So, like I guess that internal drive for me comes from it's just, life has been tough, so you become tough. It's as simple as that. Um, for me. There's no
That also feels like an East End motto thing. This is what we do. This is our manner, you know. Sink or swim.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Absolutely. Look, I don't want to tell you that I'm something special because I genuinely, with all my heart, I don't have any friends or any family members who were different. Do you know what I mean? We were all in it together. Like when one mum screams, "Get home!" every kid goes home. It was, mate. It was that type of community. Like there was no messing about. So that for me, the internal drive and the push and the hunger, I now that's a deep question, right? Because there's also a part of me which thinks, well, I never want to go back there. You see, I don't want to go back to that childhood of stress and anxiety and anger and frustration, and so I guess that drives me as an adult to make sure that if I'm ever blessed to have children, then they will never have to go through what I went through as a child. So that's a really deep thing. We have to get into that a little bit later, I guess.
Okay. 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 As a starting point, then, and you know what? This time has flew. I can't believe how quickly this time has flew. But I'm going to ask you what's in your hurt locker. But I'm going to ask you about the prevalence of anger for you and how did it manifest itself when looking back, you've been through therapy, etc.
Hmm.
When did you first realize that not being able to manage your emotions had been an issue?
Well, that's a deep question. I love it. Yeah, I love that question. So for me, I would honestly say it was probably around the age of 24. I would say I'm 32 at the moment, so about the age of 24, I realized that I was in a really, really bad headspace. I ended up taking 13 weeks off work because my anxiety, my stress, all of that was just astronomically high. I'd be going for walks at 12 o'clock at night just to try and calm my nerves. And I guess that's when I started having a lot of suicidal thoughts, and I was kind of like, I don't know what to do with my life. And that's when I started seeking therapy. But to going back to the anger side of things, like that, where does that anger come from? But I'll be honest with you, I don't think I'm an angry person. I don't think I've ever been angry. I've been quite irrational, and I think that's predominantly to do with my ADHD, where I can be
Okay.
very abrupt and I can be very short and sharp. I got into a lot of fights that I didn't really actually start. It would be more, funnily enough, as in primary school, it would be because I was an Indian boy.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
being Indian gave me a bit of grief, but again, handled it. Secondary school, it was normal, typical boy behavior of getting into silly trouble because of the girl you fancy or something
Girl you
silly.
fancy or somebody egged you on, I dare you to.
Yeah. So, again, that's for me, that was quite typical behavior, nothing out of the ordinary. The anger wise, I don't think I'm that angry, but I can be quite irrational with my emotions for sure. I can go, I can be high and then I can be quite low. And I think that's a lot to do with ADHD, where it's very hard to regulate your emotions. But again, therapy changed my life. Like when I say therapy changed my life, I genuinely mean therapy changed my life. It helped me understand how to regulate those emotions. And honestly, I'm not just bragging about this, right, Yinka? But I don't know the last time I had a proper argument, or I've learned to step back. I've learned to go, all right, I'm getting annoyed, but I'm just going to walk away. I don't need to be a part of this. So, yeah, yeah.
Was that difficult at the beginning then, when the therapist was teaching you techniques, etc., or suggesting, why don't you try this if this situation ever arises? What were your initial thoughts until you put it into practice?
Yeah, it's a bit silly, really. Walk away, have a cold glass of water, and breathe. All right, mate. Yeah, sure. Um, it's a bit silly, but genuinely speaking, I drove my therapist crazy. I'm fairly sure she will be happy not to see me again, because I never believed in it. I never believed in just talking stuff is going to do anything. But God, it's game changing. But yeah, my initial thought was it's a joke until I did put it into practice and go, yeah, actually, this is even road rage now. Like, doesn't matter if someone wants to beep me, that's cool. That's all right. You do you.
Let them,
I'm gonna
let them.
Yeah. Why should it affect me? Like, I'm not. If I'm driving in the right speed limit and I'm not doing anything silly, then mate, you're having a bad day. I hope your day gets better. Wish you all the best.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, as we're talking and I'm wondering about this, the estate, the community you grew up in, was it predominantly Indian Asian or was it a mix?
I would say it was. I'd say it was a mix. I'd say it was a
Okay.
mix. Yeah. It was a
So
mix of. Yeah.
go on.
Yeah. It was a mix of of everyone, every culture. It was genuinely a real mix of people. It wasn't predominantly, in my opinion, any one race.
Okay. So I'm just thinking, I don't know if you've ever had a father figure in your life after your father passed at 2, but knowing at what age did you know that your dad had passed? And was that something that stood out for you during your primary school years or secondary school years?
So I was fortunate that I did have an older sibling too. So although I've never, in my opinion, had a fatherly figure, I understood what a man's responsibility was in the world, which again it's changing now, and I think change is always healthy. But I was bullied in primary school for not having a dad. You'd be like, "Oh, ha ha ha, you're the boy with no dad," and stuff like that. I took it on the chin, moved on, as you do. Got me into a bit of trouble, but again, typical, getting into fights because you're upset and you're disheartened and you're trying to regulate these emotions or hurt. And nobody educates you on how to do that. It's more anger. I'm going to hit you.
Yes.
So
Crime and
um,
punishment, crime and punishment, crime and punishment. Yeah.
exactly, until you learn and understand and acknowledge there is another way out of it. Um, it's at a young age you ain't gonna get it. But yeah, no, I wouldn't say I've had any male role models that have inspired me, or anyone who's no, I haven't had that. No, I don't think I have.
But you're
If you ask me now, I wouldn't say that. If you said to me, "Oh, who's your male role model?" I'd be like, I don't know. I don't really. No, I can't think of anyone.
so your elder siblings, are they your sisters?
No, I had one sister, one brother.
Okay. What was your relationship like with your brother?
It was the best it could be. It really was. It was the
Are
best
you
it could
being
be.
diplomatic there?
Absolutely. Look, I no longer talk to my brother. We have minimal to no relationship. So, but my sister, she's my best mate. Like, I love my sister with all my heart. She's literally my best mate. So yeah, it's at the end of the day, sometimes in life you've got to figure out what's right for you and what's wrong for you. And it hurts a lot, but sometimes you have to walk away. You have to walk away to do the right thing for yourself. And
100%. I don't disagree. It's funny because I bumped into somebody today, in fact, who I've known for a long time, and I asked her about her brother, and she just said, "We don't talk,"
mm,
you know. And I know with families it can be difficult. Does your sister ever say to you, "Why don't you just see if you can reconcile your differences?" Or do you even contemplate that yourself, or that ship sailed?
I've had to do a lot of therapy. I've had
I
to do
hear
a
you.
lot of therapy. Yeah, look, at the end of the day, like as I said, I'm a fairly open book, and there's no anger and there's no animosity there. There's no frustration. There's no grudges. It's just, I think we've just grown apart, and that's okay. Yeah, like, for example, if he ever knocked on my door or dropped me a WhatsApp message, I wouldn't not respond, because that's rude, and I'm not like that.
Yeah.
And I truly believe with all my heart, if I wanted to message him, I probably could, and I'd probably get a response, but that's probably as far as it will go. So yeah.
I hear you. Tell me about the bond with your sister, because that sounds like she's staunch, she's solid, she's got your
Oh
back.
mate, oh mate, she's the rock of the family. She's just an incredible human being. I can't compliment her enough. And if she ever heard this podcast,
You're smiling as you're talking about
mate,
her.
oh, I love my sister. I love my sister. She
What's her
is.
name?
I can't. Don't want to give the names out, but
Okay, okay, okay.
yeah. But she is.
What's her
She is my.
nickname?
Don't worry about it. I don't want to share family names. You know what I mean? That was a good try. But no, honestly, like all jokes aside, she is an absolute superhero. She is the smartest woman I've ever come across. She's so emotionally intelligent. She knows how to just be straight with me. Like, no BS. She'll be like, Vish, no, rethink that. And yeah, she's just an incredible person. Like, there's people in your life where you're like, just feel so fortunate to have.
Yeah,
For me, my sister is that, like,
yeah,
100%. I love my
yeah.
sister. She's
I
she's
love the
a
way you're
she's a
just
legend.
smiling when you talk about her.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You
Oh
are,
mate,
you're beaming.
mate, like when I was going through a lot of mental health issues, like, she was at the end of the phone call, and she didn't even know how deep my thoughts were going. But she was there at the end of the phone call, 10 o'clock at night, mate. She'd be on the phone, and we'd be talking about stuff. And yeah, mate, yeah, mate, she's a superhero. I tell you.
When you realized about your mental health and you were struggling, how did that
Mm,
manifest itself? We're talking about what's in your hair locker and
mm,
how the start of your mental health declining, because you said
mm.
you used to, and that's another thing as well. I'm sorry, I'm just firing loads of questions at you now.
That's cool. That's cool.
I'm thinking about it on a personal level, how it was for you. What was the start of that? When did you notice that I'm not feeling too right in my body, in my head, and my heart? But there's a secondary question about within black and brown communities. it's rare to be open and transparent to say, "I'm not okay, you know. I need
Mm.
support." So, yeah, I'm giving you 2, 3 questions there. But when did you
No,
first
that's
start
cool.
noticing it?
Yeah, I definitely started noticing it at work because my work ethic has always been really high. And when I started realizing I'm taking sick days for reasons I didn't understand, it's not like I was injured or I was, I had some sort of aches and pains. I was taking days off because I couldn't be bothered. And that for me was like, hmm, that's a bit that's a bit odd, isn't it? Like that's not me. And then all of a sudden I'd be like, I can't wake up in the morning. I like genuinely I could not wake up in the morning. I was like late to work every day. And I'd be like, that's again. Like usually I'm like up and just like a Duracell bunny. I'm on it all the
Jump out
time.
of bed, you're on it, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but not anymore. Like at that stage, it wasn't happening anymore. And it little things like that started making me go, crap. Like then I'd take like 3 days off work and then I'd just lay in bed. I'll just be like, what is going on? I don't know. Like I don't know these emotions. I don't know what anxiety, stress, depression. I don't know anything about mental health. I'm a man. I don't you know what I mean? I just get on with this stuff. Like, what the hell is going wrong? But no matter how manly I was, I still was struggling. I couldn't get out of bed. Like, I'd just be really, really struggling. And then all of a sudden I take a week off work. And then I'm like, oh, this is bad. And then all of a sudden, my heart would start pulsating
Ba-doom,
really
ba-doom,
fast. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
ba-doom.
It's like you can hear it in your ears, and you're like,
Yes.
whoa, this is wild. Like, this is not normal. And then all of a sudden, I'm not eating, I'm not communicating, I'm isolating myself from my friends and family. And all of these things don't happen in a matter of a day or 2 days. This happens over weeks and weeks and
It's a
weeks and
gradual
weeks.
it's a gradual
Gradual.
build up. Yes.
That's exactly right. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, ah, I need to get help. Um, I didn't know where to start with getting help. So I did what most people do. I jumped on Google and I typed in therapist because I heard that word float about quite often. And yeah, my journey through that really did start with a Google search. I made the conscious decision that I'm going to find the best therapist I can find in London. So I went to Harley Medical Group. I went and saw a psychiatrist there, and yeah, she was just mate, Yinka. She changed my life, man. But coming back to your culture, do you want to know a funny story?
Go on.
So I plucked up the courage to tell my mum I'm seeing a therapist, and mate, honestly, I kid you not, her response was, "You're getting tied to a table and electrocuted." Oh my god, mate! I'm not even joking. When I mean I'm not
Wow,
joking, the fear in her face was like,
wow.
I'm. And then she actually said that she because that's what her perception of mental health support was. It was what you see in movies, and that's getting tied to a table and just getting this load of voltage put through you. And then honestly, it's taken like 4 years to slowly explain to her that actually therapy is just me sitting opposite someone in a really comfortable room and talking about my feelings. And then you have to go down the route of you have feelings. No, yes, I have feelings. I had emotions and stuff. But yeah, that culturally, I genuinely believe for brown and black men, especially, it is so rare to find people speak about their mental health. So I recently done a few talks in a college. So I've done 3 talks in 3 colleges, and it was all to construction students, and predominantly the Hackney and Epping Forest colleges. They
I
were they
know.
were they were
Yeah.
yeah, they were young brown and black students predominantly. And mate, I could not believe it. Even the teachers couldn't believe it. How engaged they were for the full hour. They listened, and when we reflected on that, it was
Go on.
probably because, you know, how often do you see a brown man stand up going, I nearly killed myself? Like, How often do you hear it? And this is the stigma.
Don't.
We have to, yeah, we have to
100%.
break it down.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yinka,
100%.
let me share another story with you, right?
Please do.
So
Please. This is your
that,
space.
yeah, so when I was younger, I went to my first funeral, and in the Indian culture, it's open casket funerals. So you see the body. And I remember it was my grandma gone. And so my remembrance of my grandma, she had a really petite little face. So she was a really petite lady. And but in the casket, her face had really blown up, right?
Yeah.
I'm not sure, maybe a chemical response. I don't understand that side of stuff, so I won't explain it. But it was really interesting, the dynamic of the room. The women would be together, crying and being emotional, which is really, really normal and really healthy, especially in a funeral circumstance. And you get the geezers, the guys, standing together, holding it together with their hands in front of their bodies. Tight, you can tell they're tight, but not one tear, not one tear, because that culturally is what a man is supposed to be. He is meant to be strong and have it all together. And as if we do not feel any emotions or any feelings, and we're not hurt by this loved family member in front of our eyes, it's absolute rubbish, Yinka. It's absolute. We
100%.
need to change the narrative. We need to.
100%. Vish, you're not wrong there. You're not wrong there. And then I'm just imagining, I don't know how old you were then, but I'm just imagining you looking up to the guys and thinking, there's a disconnect there in terms of how you're feeling and how they're portraying themselves around the loved one. And it's like, no, no. Computer says no, brain says no, but I'm a man, so maybe this is what men do, you know?
Absolutely. And
But
that
it's
culture,
wrong.
yeah, absolutely. It embeds into you as a person,
It
and
does.
you carry that on. So,
Yeah.
Yinka, I've been to a fair few funerals now, right? And I have never cried at a funeral. I physically can't. I haven't cried before one or after one or during one. And I think to myself, Fish, I've got so much work to do because I see it as a weakness. And even though my head and my brain tells me, yo, Fish, it's okay. Like, you're a human being. It's okay to cry. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to grieve. My eyes don't bloody water. There's something wrong with that. But again, it's work in progress. It's acknowledging that it's okay, it's safe, and then it's kind of, I guess, you know, putting into practice.
Just going back quickly to the talks with the students in the construction industry, you don't have to say anything about that, but just by virtue of the fact that you gave those talks, told those students that you gave them permission, you gave them, just by your presence, you've given them permission to say, this is okay, this is all right, this is normal. I may struggle in life and I can reach out for support. So props to you on that one.
Thank you, man.
You
You
know,
know the most heartbreaking thing out of it all, Yinka. I thought, I genuinely, with all my heart, I thought when I stand up, the hardest bit about this talk is me going to be standing in front of 100 people and talking. It wasn't. The hardest bit was at the end of the speech when the kids, these are kids, Yinka, they're children,
go on.
came over to me and they've told me they've already tried to kill themselves.
100%,
Mate,
100%, 100%.
that broke that broke my heart.
I can tell you of that demographic, that age group, and we're talking 16, 17 up to 25, right? 7% of 17-year-olds have attempted to end their own life. 7%. I remember going to this conference years ago in London, and remember Casualty? And you had the guy called Ash, black guy. He ended up going to New York and being involved with the theatre, Kwame or something. He spoke about this thing and he said, what is the biggest thing impacting young people? And people said smoking weed, this, that, and the other. And his response was thwarted ambition, you know? Because we're in school up to the age of 16 if we don't go on and do A levels, and then we're pushed out of school and told, crack on now with the world. And you haven't got a clue which way you're supposed to go. If you haven't got guidance, you're fucked.
Yeah.
You are fucked, you know? And so when kids are coming up to you after you've spoken and said, and being honest and said, I can relate to what you're saying, it doesn't surprise me. It saddens me that we've reached this junction, you know? But it doesn't surprise me. And maybe that's something to do with the society that we live in and how it's organized.
Mate, I think social media has a huge factor to play into it. It's this constant comparison, constant, oh, look at his lifestyle, or look at her lifestyle. It's you go onto social media for longer than half an hour and you're consuming so much rubbish. We're not allowing these young people to just be at peace with themselves, to love themselves. We're not allowing them to go, it's okay, mate. If you want to be a librarian, and that's okay. If that's what you want to be, go be it. It's okay. You don't have to be an entrepreneur and earn six figures.
No,
Mate, if
no.
do what makes you happy, because your life matters so much. And Yinka, I'll be honest with you, when I had these young boys come up to me like, oh man, look, I don't sweat like much, right? But even thinking about it now, my back is getting sweaty and I'm feeling uncomfortable because, mate, when I was 16, I was being reckless, right? I was playing football, I was riding bikes, just doing normal stuff. And now these 16-year-olds, Yinka, what's happened, man? Like
They're carrying the
these
weight of the world on the shoulders.
Oh my god, that's such a yes, absolutely they are. And they're told that if you're not successful, if you don't earn six figures, if you don't drive this car, if you don't have this house, if you don't have this missus, you are not important. I wish I could tell these young people, boys and girls, because this isn't about gender, this is about young people.
Absolutely.
Do not see your life like that. See your life as you are something special. It doesn't matter what you have or what materialistic things you own or what job you have. You as an individual just being here is enough. And I wish it's that message that gets pushed out to people, not, oh, you gotta have these flat bellies and these big arms and these perfect beards. No, just forget all that, man. Just know you are beautiful just the way you are, and you deserve to
100%.
be here. And you're an asset to the world, and that's what young people should be taught. You know,
Absolutely. You're an asset. You're not a burden. You know, as a therapist, that's the word I always listen out for.
Yeah.
I'm a burden. I'm a burden. And I love hearing that word because I want to work with that person who watches that and show them the difference. You're not.
Yeah.
You're not.
Yinka, we it went. Oh, I'm sure you know about this already, but this went viral. It was about the manosphere.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Louis, whatever his name
Yeah,
is.
Louis Theroux and all of that. Yeah.
Yeah. And it went viral. Everyone was talking about it, right? But mate, do me a favor. When you've got the time, right, go watch Race Around the World. It's on BBC. If you watch these two 18-year-old boys, right, and listen to the deep conversations they're having about they don't know what it is to be a man. They don't know what it is to have that cultural background. They don't know what their culture is. Why isn't that stuff going viral? Because that's also the conversations a lot of young boys are having.
100%. 100%.
But
And
why
you
are
know
they not?
what? It's brilliant you talk about that because for me, and I was only having this conversation with somebody else recently, you and I are part of a diaspora. Your origins is Indian, Asian, okay?
Yeah.
Mine is Nigerian, West African, but I live here, you live here. So
Mm,
when we have our cultures scattered around the world, that's the diaspora, you know?
okay.
So if I go to Nigeria in Yoruba, because that's my tribe, they'll say Oyinbo, white man, because they know that I'm
Oh,
not born and raised in Lagos in Nigeria. Similar for you, because the clothes you wear, the way you walk and that, if you go to where your mum was born and raised, you'll stand
Yeah,
out like a sore thumb.
100%. I know, get
And
hustled like crazy.
people will try and hustle you, but you'll just show that East End thing. This is the way we do it on our manor. And it ain't happening now, but we're part and
Absolutely.
parcel. So with those two kids, they're talking about the essence of who they are. And as you say, quite rightly say, that's what we should be talking about. That's what the kids are talking about.
Yeah,
But because it's not fashionable to talk about those things, it never gains the traction.
that's right.
It never gains the traction. It never gets the loudspeaker for people to, you
Yeah.
know.
And this is really so, in my opinion, so frustrating. We constantly highlight what's going to go viral. And the truth behind it is you're only talking about it because you want to go viral. You're only having an opinion about it because you want to get the dopamine hits and the likes and the comments and the engagement. But how about you don't talk about something that goes viral, but because it actually means something, it's actually important to talk about it. And honestly, I was watching this race around the world, and when these two boys were sitting there in front of the water and just having a heart to heart, I was like, we're failing as society because we're not highlighting these conversations. We're highlighting the extremist viewpoints. But I guess that is the world we live in right now.
That's the world we live in now. But let's talk about something that is important.
Yeah,
You know,
please.
let's talk about Onward Shift. I did a guest from last year who's in the construction industry. There was a few people that you've
Mm.
probably had on in there, but we know that within the construction industry, 2 people a day die. You're 3.7 times more likely at risk of suicide compared to the national average.
That's right.
That's the space that you operate in. How, when you're wearing that hat, educating people about mental health, talking about suicide, suicidal thoughts, how does that come across? How is it received by people, by your peers, your colleagues?
Yeah. So I will say the people on the ground, like the brickies, the chippies, the sparkies, the plumbers, the guys and girls on the tools, it hits them hard. It hits them through experience. It hits them because they are relatable to that conversation, and that doesn't matter about gender or sex or nationality. When you go up the ladder, the supervisors tend to also understand it. But I find when you talk to leadership about it, they get it, but they also are like, it costs money.
That's
And
the bottom line. That's the bottom line.
I was trying to be diplomatic there, but I couldn't. I had to just be honest. It comes down to the money.
Yeah.
So, the challenges are, it's the challenges are we've got to support the industry. We've got to, because let's look at the logistics, right? And we'll just talk about the residential market. We're trying to build an extra 1.5 million houses in the next 4 years. We've got what, a 250,000 worker shortage. 94% are struggling with stress. 83% are struggling with anxiety. 60% are struggling with depression.
Good.
27% have
Reel it out.
suicidal thoughts.
Reel it
Yeah, they have
out.
suicidal thoughts. And just to throw it out there, Yinka, it's 2 construction workers commit suicide every working day as a provisional number. The actual number is much higher, but we haven't got the accurate statistics for that yet. But there are a lot of incredible people in the industry fighting day and night to make sure we start getting the correct, accurate data. Because just because somebody sadly decides to take their life at home due to the conditions they have to work in Monday to Sunday does not mean that should not be reported under the suicide rates in construction. So there's a lot, and I mean a lot of work to be done in the
Well,
construction
it's
industry.
just the way you phrase that is important, because for a while, in terms of veterans and the MOD, Ministry of Defence, they never used to count suicides. But if you've been in the armed forces, even for one day, you're a veteran. So now anybody who's a veteran is count. If they die by suicide, then that is an attributary factor. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's how we should be looking at suicide. If you've been an electrician, if you've been a brickie for 5 years, 10 years of your life, and it's recorded somewhere, then you're part and parcel of those holistic figures, those comprehensive figures. I agree with you wholeheartedly on that.
Absolutely. Let me share another story with you, mate. So I talk to tradespeople. I walk onto building sites and I'll just chat to people, right? And I was talking to two guys, and I was just talking about mental health. And one guy says, "You know what? On my last job, one of the supervisors hung himself in a house that was still being built." And I kid you not, the other guy said the exact same thing. And I said, "Rah, so you guys have worked on, several building sites together?" He was like, "No, there were two different building sites,
Wow.
mate." And that was just in Essex, right? And then
Oh,
I said to them, "What was the solution from the
go
company
on.
to provide you guys some sort of support?" Their solution was they stuck a Samaritan's poster up on the wall, right? And then, as well as that, they done a toolbox talk. And for those who don't know what a toolbox talk is, it's basically a quick bit of paperwork where you read it about a certain issue. So this issue would have been suicides or mental health at work. It wasn't even read to the guys. It was put on the table, said, flick through it, sign it, and go back to work. How is that acceptable, Yinka? You make it make sense, because I can't.
I
That is
can't. I can't.
unacceptable.
I can't.
Unacceptable.
Vish, let me give you another stat to underpin that. When one person, if you've been bereaved or affected by a suicide, you then join a high risk group that is 80 to 300% higher than the national average to then go on and die by suicide.
So what you're saying is if you know someone who's committed suicide, it puts you into the
A
I
high,
potentially may.
yes,
Wow, I
yeah,
didn't know that. I didn't know that. Oh wow.
of 80 to 300% higher than the general population. And that
That's
research has been
huge.
borne, it's massive. That research has been borne out time after time after time since 1987. Okay. So we've known about this for nearly 40 years. Okay. We've known about this for nearly 40 years.
That's too much, man. That how
And
can
think about this for you working on construction sites. If you've got, usually on large construction sites, there's more than 100 people there, isn't there?
oh easy, easy.
Easy. Okay.
Mm,
Easy. Imagine the ripple effects of all those people.
yeah, wow. When you think of it that way, yeah, that's yeah. And
You
then when
know,
you add into the factor that men don't talk about their mental health, men's
100%,
stigma around
100%,
mental health,
100%, 100%.
and they don't.
You know what? Johnny's like that. Oh, Yinka's gone and fucking killed himself by suicide. Like, Yinka had a fucking boss life, this, that, and the other. And Johnny's sitting at home by himself thinking, if fucking Yinka can kill himself and all of that, what's stopping me from doing it? I've got fuck all going on in my life,
Mm,
you know?
no, it's deep, isn't it? That's deep. That's
It is.
painful.
And the thing
Painful.
for me is this: we don't take suicide and mental health seriously in this country.
Mm.
We don't. We don't.
What do you think? Why do you think what do you think the reason is behind it?
Oh my, I could give you a multitude of reasons. Finance is one thing, finance is definitely one thing. The world, the intent is not there. It doesn't matter until it hits you. It's just over there. It's nothing to do with me. It's not affecting my life. But when it knocks on your door, and says, welcome, you just lost a family member to suicide, then people start fucking sitting up and realizing, shit, we're going to have to go on this crusade. You know, it's wrong. It's wrong. 1 million people each year are bereaved or affected by suicide in this country. Each year. That's not the year before or the year after. Each and every year. You know, so that tells me that you could have some. Oh my God, I delivered some training in January, and one woman told me that in her family, an extended family, 8 people had died by suicide. 8. All men. And I said to her, where was the bloody conversations? So us as guys have got to change, and it's boss listening to you talk. It's boss listening to you talk. But the government have got to step up as well, and they've got to put money in. We've got to normalize these conversations. They shouldn't be so that Vish does his podcast and Yinka does his podcast for specific areas for us to talk about it. It should be normalized.
Yeah.
Everybody should be talking.
And I think that's the beauty of this, though, Yinka. It's two guys who live, you know, miles apart.
Poles apart, literally.
Yeah. And just going, you know what? I'm going to open up and be vulnerable with you. You're going to open up and be vulnerable with you. We're going to have a conversation that should be normalized. And this is the way to do it. You know, this is the way to start. And we can't be reliant on the world to change. I believe there's a famous saying that says, be the change you want to see.
100%. 100%.
That's where we've got to turn up. That's where we show up. That's where we continuously show up, even when we're not down. That's where the fight, the internal rage almost kicks in and goes, I can't stop because I truly believe in this mission. I truly believe that if this podcast reaches one person and it helps them to find support,
enough,
then Yinka, we have done our job. We've done our
100%, 100%, 100%, 100%. And for me to underpin and add what you've just said, I don't want to be part of the chattering classes, rubbing me chin and saying, oh, this is a problem. Oh, this is serious. Oh, we must do something about it. And then nothing gets done. We need to be, I don't care. I'm unfiltered now. This is important.
Yeah.
Tell me in terms of how Onward Shift connects people in terms of the mental health boards.
Oh, thanks for asking that, mate. Look, Onward Shift, right? I'm not some tech guru with loads of like software engineering mindset and stuff like that. I'm a Sparky by trade, and I've created Onward Shift to be a platform to support people and businesses. So I've created a whole website where we've got loads of coaches, counselors, where the individual can pick who they want to work with. We've got keynote speakers, we've got a podcast, we've got blogs, we've got newsletters, we've got walk and talk events. And actually, I haven't shared this, so this will be the first place I share this. There you go, mate. But I'm actually, as part of Onward Shift, I'm creating a new section called events, and I'll be hosting events in Colchester and then slowly surrounding areas and then city by city. And I'll personally be publicly speaking about my personal journey with mental health, with the construction industry, what's helped me, what hasn't helped me. And the first event has actually just gone live. It's on the 9th of June in Colchester at 7 p.m. You get teas, coffees, and parking's included. So yeah, and tickets are only a tenner. So this is more about building that awareness and not stopping in any way, shape, or form to get that message out there.
And we'll put that out in the episode notes as well when this gets put out there.
Yeah. But Onward Shift is basically a platform where, wherever you are in your journey, you can find support. Because when I went through my mental health struggles, I could never find one platform that had the podcast, the blogs, the coaching, the counseling. I couldn't find it. So then I've gone, you know what? I'm going to create it. And yeah, I'm extremely proud of myself for doing it. And yeah, I never say that, by the way, Yinka. I never say I'm proud of myself. But for Onward Shift, I'm genuinely proud of myself, and I truly believe it's going to help people. And yeah,
And
I
it
truly
is,
believe
it
it.
is, it is, it is. This, we're gonna have to have you back soon, because we've only just scraped the surface. We're only just scratching the surface here. Can I ask? I've listened to what you said and sincerely, and I knew, you know what? I knew when I knew you were in the construction, I knew we'd get on. It wasn't even a consideration. It was not even a concern for me whatsoever. I just knew we'd get on, and I knew that we'd be able to share experiences. You know, I don't know what your answer is going to be to this question, but and you can only pick one person. But who's the most important person in your life?
That's a really incredible question, Yinka. Um, the most important person in my life, you know what? It has to be this one person. I love my sister, and I love her with all my heart, and I always will. But it's got to be my missus. She is Yinka. Like, listen, I'm not doing this for the brownie points because, um, mate, look, right. I don't know if I'd be the man I am today if it wasn't for her. And if I sit there and say somebody else, it wouldn't be true. It has to be her. She has changed my mindset in ways you won't believe. She's challenged me on my thought processes from the beginning of our relationship. She's been such a strong voice and such a strong mind behind Vish. You know, the guy who puts himself out on the internet and creates Onward Shift and goes to public speaking sessions, and she's behind all of that. And so, behind the scenes, she may not have her face there, but she's the heart and the soul of Onward Shift as well. And she's the heart and soul of me, man. Like, there's no Vish without Annika, and she's
Okay,
she's she's a
okay,
beautiful human.
okay. Let me challenge you now. Let me say that you're wrong. Let me say the most important person in your life is you, because you're the expert of you. You know what makes yourself happy. You know what makes yourself sad. And only by attending to your needs first and foremost can you be fully there for the people who are important to you. And imagine this. Imagine if you took care of business for you. Imagine how much more richer and textured and layered that love and care would be for the likes of your missus, your sister, but it's got to start with you.
But I agree with you, mate. Like, I agree in the sense that you can't pour from an empty cup. But I'm also look, Yinka, like, previously to this, I had my own electrical business, and you know what? I'll be honest with you, I was a little bit arrogant, not in the sense of I would put people down, but in the sense of showboating to a certain extent. And listen, like, yes, it starts with me, but there would be no me without her and people like my sister. So, like, for me, yeah, I am important, but mate, family first, man. Always. Like, I've prioritized money, I've prioritized silly materialistic things in my life, but they don't exist anymore. But my family, the one that I've chosen to be my family, and they don't necessarily have to be by blood, they can be friends as well. Mate,
100%, 100%.
with,
Kin and
without
kinship.
them, yeah, but without them, there is no this Vish you're seeing today. They've played such a huge part in molding me into the man I am. I can't put myself first when I've got so many beautiful, and I genuinely mean beautiful people lifting me up, and I can't
Okay,
do that, man. You know
okay,
what I
but
mean?
let me say this. We can go back and forth on this, but I would say that the people who are in your sphere, the people who are in your circle, they only occur in your circle because you've cultivated that circle. You've made it possible. Can we agree to disagree and accept it as is? 1-1.
Yinka, I respect you. I respect you, mate. And yeah, I'm happy to call it a 1-1. And let's do a part 2 and discuss this.
We will do. We will do. Final thing for now.
Please.
What's your plans for this evening?
I'm gonna sit down. I'm gonna walk my dog because I haven't taken him for a walk yet.
Okay.
And I'm going to process this podcast because it's been quite intense. I'm going to spend some time on my missus and then turn my laptop on and start work. There you go.
Nice. Okay.
How about yourself? How about yourself?
Okay. Well, let me finish this first. After you've done all of that, you've come back. Okay. The dog's lapping up the water, etc. You know, there's a knock at the door. You go to the door, you open it, and it's 12-year-old Vish. What do you say to him?
Shouldn't you be at work? Please stand and open the door. The 12-year-old Vish was doing a paper round, so I was hustling then. I'll be hustling now. What would I say to? What would the 12-year-old Vish say?
What would you say to 12-year-old Vish?
What would I say to 12-year-old Vish? Okay, man, you're a muppet. There's things in your life you're gonna do that you're gonna question later, but still do them. Don't change who you are. Go through the ups, go through the downs. It will make you into the man you will become. And at some stage in your mid-20s, life is going to get really, really hard. You're going to question every aspect of every single thing. But trust the process. See it through.
Trust the process. Spoken like a real therapist there. I know you've heard those words before. Trust the process.
Like, that's my next tattoo, you know what I mean? Oh, gosh.
Vish,
yeah, trust the process.
Narbheram, you've been a beautiful, beautiful guest on the Hurt Locker. Thank you so much. Okay.
Appreciate you, man.
And that's a wrap, Tim. The Hurt Locker is a safe space for our guests to openly share their mental health experiences. If you have been affected by any of the content in this recording, then please reach out for support. If it is an emergency, dial 999. If you would like to talk to somebody today, then please call the Samaritans on 116 123. Stay safe. Thanks for listening to this episode of The Hurt Locker. Please give us a rating or share with another listener. You can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook at The Hurt Locker Pod.